What's happening, y'all? It's your boy X-Rated. I just jumped off the porch with Dirty Glove Bastard. You know what it is?
Or die, the game of life is a sport we in. One wrong move and life is stinging like a scorpion. Truth or lie.
What's up? All right, y'all. We got a Sacramento legend jumping off the porch with us today. We got X-Rated. That was good, bro.
What's poppin', family?
Man, everything great, bro. On this end, how you feeling, bro?
I feel the same way, man. I've been chilling with the family, just basking in the blessings, feeling good.
Man, that's what's up, bro. That's what's up, man. I love to hear it, bro. How Atlanta been treating you so far?
Oh, it's always love out here. It's been real good. Good food, good company. It's a vibe. It's a vibe.
Yeah, man, I could dig that. That's what's up, bro. All right, so you just dropped a new project, Prophecy and Purgatory. And I wanted to ask you, is the title, was that a feeling that you had like towards the end of your bid and like feeling like you were in purgatory, but...
Yeah, it's a combination, like, it got a lot to do with that, the way I felt while I was doing the time, but also, while I was doing the time, people were saying, man, if X get out of there, it's gonna be like this.
Yeah.
They were predicting, they was like, man, this boy, he gonna do his thing. So for me to be in the position I'm in now, it's like I fulfilled that prophecy for those people who have faith in me that I was gonna come home and like boss up and, you know, say the right things, push the right energy. So I feel like I validated and vindicated a lot of people who believed in me.
Word. No, that's what's up, bro.
Yeah.
And what would you say is different in this project than, you know, some of your previous?
I think the difference between this one and my previous projects is the progression, like where it ends at. Because it's kind of like, I feel like I hung out in the energy of the story in the first couple albums that I did since I came home. And this is kind of the album that's transitioned into, this is my life now. I feel like I spent a lot of time telling the story, how I got where I'm at. But I never really did like my victory lap. I never said like, wow, man, I survived that, or, you know, the bright part of it, the light. And so this is my transition into that part of my life where it's like, man, you know, a couple beautiful kids. I'm in a gated community. I'm off parole.
Yeah.
I'm on Strange Music. I'm rocking with Tech Nine. I got a distribution deal with Virgin Music Group, Universal. It's like I'm about as blessed as I'm gonna get. You know what I mean? Like if you say 9 lives, I done use about 7 of my 9 lives. Like, you don't know how many chances people get, so for it to be this beautiful, I feel like it's time to start going there. So this album is that transition.
Yeah.
Where the first half is kind of focused on what I went through, and the second half is focused on where I'm at now, and it ended with, you know, a powerful statement for the rest of my life, and that's kind of where it's at.
Word. And that makes sense with songs like Outside, Three Kings, you know, with you, Brother Lynch Hung, and Sibo. Like, what is that like for you being able to do music now, like with your brothers, you know, and being in this space that you in now?
Yeah, I think it's dope. Like, that was one of the things that I dreamt of, you know, making music with them. I've done a lot of stuff that I'm really proud of, rocking with Brockhem, got a song in with Joyner and Conway, you know, a bunch of songs with Tech Nine. You know, to do stuff with Lynch and Bo, coming from where we from and what our dreams was. None of us had nothing, and we all just had a dream and what we wanted to do. So to see where the three of us are now in our lives is beautiful. So it was a big deal to be able to finally do that song. I intentionally did one that was upbeat, because our default setting is to do some gangster shit. That's what we do. We're gonna do something gangster. But it was like, man, that's predictable, and it is a potential mistake. So like, let's do something turned up that people could vibe to. Like my son was saying, outside, he'd be like, Dad, outside? Outside, so I recorded him. And then I put him in the booth and had it. So that's my son saying outside and that chorus. So I felt like it's G, the song got the right kind of strength to it, but it's a little bit more turned up. And I kind of felt like the first song should be like that. Like, let the people ask us for the other shit, and then when we give it to them, can't nobody say, you know, we're a bunch of old heads doing some crazy shit.
And then you had Still Outside with Mozzie. I was like, okay, bruh making a point. He outside. Like, he ain't playing with it.
But I feel like the song with Mozzie was a powerful statement in terms of what we want for the city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would like to see my city. Atlanta's a great example of that. We always gonna have our tensions, but the fact that a city like this, and to be here answering this question here is dope. Because when I'm trying to explain this to people from Sacramento, I use Atlanta as an example of that. Because, you know, New York and LA was doing what they was doing, where, you know, hip hop starting on Cedric Ave and migrating throughout the rest of the country. You have a LA having a stranglehold on the industry with Hollywood being there. And then New York got Madison Avenue. So you have these two powerful aspects from each coast. But for Atlanta to create its own culture and its own infrastructure to allow somebody to never really have to leave here initially and become a star and travel to the rest of the world from Atlanta out, that was something that was organically built here, and I think it could be replicated organically in other places, but it requires peace. It requires at least a mutual understanding that you could go from point A to point B without being harmed for existing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not an advocate of meaning a black man harm because he's standing there at a gas station. I feel like he need to get home to his family, just like I want to get home to mine. So trying to establish that mindset so that people can understand the paper, the money, the economy can be positively impacted by that one philosophy, to allow people to go from point A to point B and don't wish them ill. And, you know, if anything, even prevent ill from happening to them so that could be reciprocated for you. And now we have a culture that is honoring what we would call rite of passage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have the right to go from point A to point B. Boom, that's the beginning of all the paper. And then you have the podcasting studios. You have everything that you need. That we honor the cameraman, we honor the DJs, we honor, and next thing you know, you got a thriving culture that's its own economy, somebody making a living. Get 100 racks a year, that's a start.
Yeah.
Get you $200,000 a year without ever having to leave home. And I think doing the song with Mozzie, that was the first opportunity that I personally had to really say, hey, y'all, you know, we got a chance to do something else if we so choose. However, at the end of that song, which is like the third time on this particular album that it happened, I never finished the statement. It's genocidal. We got to come together again. It's vital. But when I get ready to say vital, gunshot goes off. So they say don't shoot the messenger, right? The person trying to explain almost always ends up suffering some type of negative experience. So I get shot at the end of that song for trying to say that it's genocidal for us to keep smacking each other and hunting each other and viewing each other adversarially. And then sure enough, a whole bunch of people disagreed with it. Don't want you to do a song with Mozzie. Don't want you to do this. Don't want you to do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. If I stop trying, if I stop trying, don't say I didn't try.
Right. Nah, for real. And I know that at a point in time, because I had Sibo up here a few months back, and we spoke about, you know, the tension that he and Mozzie had at one point, which got cleared up. I know you, at a certain point in time, I think y'all might have had a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And for you guys to be able to move past that and come together and do music that's so big for y'all city, you know, bringing, you know, the new age with the legends and being able to just show that it's not just about continuing to push the negativity.
Right.
And even, you know, you talking about being here in Atlanta, you know, let's think about how many lives have been spared and how many people have also been able to potentially get jobs and make money with Thug and Lucci being able to squash what they had and be able to coexist.
Yeah. And then that verses, to see Gucci and Jeezy able to do that verses, that was a big deal. I feel like we've had plenty of leadership. We've had plenty of demonstrations of how this can go if people would like to do that. But like, I feel like, you know, when it comes to Bo, that's my big brother. I love Bo. Like, I was just a young dude. I was there the day he came home from YA. I was in the hood with the homies and both been in the corner, you know, looking fresh out of a movie, fresh out of Boys in the Hood or something. You know, that's always been Bo from the block. He always been Sean. And so I would say it was things that I didn't understand that he understood because I was unavailable. I was in that warehouse for them 26 years. So educationally, he was further ahead than me. And then I'm not aware of what I don't know. So I kind of had to live my life. I had to live my way into understanding some of the nuances. And so I think more than a disagreement, we just had a lack of awareness. Like I didn't know him no more and he didn't know me no more. And our opinions of each other were predicated on input we was receiving from other people. And then as soon as I just popped up on him, you know what I mean? I got, you know, I'm playing by myself, no bodyguards. Rented a car, drove from point A to point B, and was like, where you at? He's like, I'm over here. I'm like, I'm 10 minutes away. I'll pop up at the house, and we just kicked it. We got us some food and was laughing and driving around, and it was like right back to last time we saw each other because we went from being kids from the same neighborhood, gangbanging, going to prison, being sullies, going our separate ways, not seeing each other for 26 years. Then in 27, 28 years, really, then I come home and we break bread like grown men, and it was right back to it. My mama asking, where's Sean at? I'm like, here, she keep asking for you. You know, I ain't in the phone. I follow his mom. I tap in with his mom. So it's different when you spend that time with each other. And since then, like, it's been dope to have that relationship with Big Bro. He been like one of the strongest voices of reason besides Tech-Nine, you know. Tech is on another level in my life as somebody that has just been like completely 100 with me, you know what I mean? And to have him and Bo, it's been special. I've been really enjoying these relationships.
Nah, that's what's up.
Mama, it's been dope, so I just want to say that.
Yeah, no, that's what's up. And speaking of what you were just saying too, it's crazy how so many situations of tension amongst cats is usually not even the two people that are really having the issue. It's normally people around you that have the issue, and it sort of makes it be your issue.
Yeah, a lot of times it could be like that, yeah. And just different perspectives. I feel like as grown men, one thing that I'm definitely capable of doing is hearing a different perspective than my own and making adjustments, you know what I mean? They say that there's a reason the Ten Commandments cracked. When they failed, it was written in stone. You know, some stuff got to be pliable. You got to be able to bend it a little bit, you know what I mean, and understand when somebody else might be right in a way that is beneficial even for your own life. So one thing I'm going to be able to do is take wise counsel for sure. If somebody giving me some game, I'm going to accept it.
Word. On your song, Harrowing of Hell, you said I had a heart full of pride and had to set it aside.
Yeah, man.
And what we talking about right now, even with Bo, sounds like that was a part of that coming into fruition. But these particular rhymes, what were you talking about during, you know, in that statement?
I think that, like, going from a young man in America, a young black man in America, to an adult, and through those experiences, it's a lot of perspectives that you can have in life that aren't rooted in reality. Some of them could be rooted, a lot of them are rooted in ego. And it's rooted in like what you're supposed to be as opposed to who you really are. And I think that was a lot of the complications I had in my life. And so when I say, you know, I found out a lot of things about people and about myself and my responses. And I had to set my pride aside in order for my life to improve. The death of ego. We was talking about that this morning. And that's a strong theme on this album. It's the battle between flesh and the spirit is the overarching message in the prophecy in purgatory. You see, when I go to 3 days in Hades, it's basically me walking up to myself and having a conversation. And then when it says, "Who do you know who you are?" And I say, "Indeed, I do." That's ego. Right? I know who I am. I don't really know shit. You know what I mean? So that's an egotistical statement off the bat. Indeed, I do. That's the flesh talking. And I say, but who are you? And the response that I give myself was, I am, which was, you know, I am you. So it's like I'm the God in you. Because that's what Moses was told on Mount Sinai when he asked God, I'm gonna tell Pharaoh who said let his people go. He said, tell him I am said, I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I say I am you, I'm trying to identify that this is the Spirit speaking. So throughout this album, you have that conflict where the flesh and the spirit are at odds, and that's what when I die on the crucifixion, prior to damnation, at the end of Still Outside with Mozzie again, it's just repeatedly a Queen of Hearts in that video. I chopped my own head off. The ego and the spirit are at odds. The spirit is trying to kill the ego. So when I say I had a heart full of pride, I had to set it aside. It was about making decisions that my worldly self, my flesh, my ego would never be able to tolerate. In order to be who I need to be for my family, my children require a different version of me than what the streets require of me. And that other side can't win.
Yeah.
For the sake of my children, it can't win. It just literally cannot win. And so that got to get set to the side.
And how do you even balance that from, being in tune spiritually with who you are and who you need to be, like you said, for your kids, but then X-rated, the man, the garden block, Perks member, you know what I mean? Like how do you balance that?
You know what? There's been difficulty to balance that because like proximity creates familiarity, and familiarity could breed contempt. It also can breed misbehavior or like habitual. You fall into habitual behaviors. So next thing you know, I'm saying things I might not normally say. I'm moving a way that I wouldn't normally move, but it's because I'm in proximity to what requires that. And so what I've decided is, and this album, at the end of this album, it lands there, which is that X-Rated got to grow up. I can't service his lifestyle and still be who I need to be for my family. But X-Rated pay the bills. X-Rated pay the bills. So he got to come with me. I don't get to kill him. I can't kill him off. He got to grow up. He got to come with me. You know what I mean? He gonna have to come on over here and help me with these babies.
Yeah, he has to evolve.
He has to evolve, and that's what we're gonna do. So by the time we get to the end of the album, I think that's a very clear statement. And I believe that at the end of that song with Mozzie being the last song on the album and dying from trying to tell people, hey, you gotta come too, is kind of that statement that everybody can't go. Everybody can't go. If somebody don't understand what I'm saying, somebody ain't ready to do that for themselves, then cool. I got to keep it moving.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the most difficult things, too, is having that understanding and being able to move in that way, knowing that everybody can't go.
Everybody can't go.
Yeah.
And even if they can, everybody ain't ready to go. And so it's like, I'll see you when you get there.
Yeah.
I remember Snoop, shout out to the OG. Snoop was like, that elevator you got to ride. And he was like, you can't keep coming back down. You don't belong there no more.
Yeah.
And so if you keep coming down, you're harming yourself. And I remember like thinking about that as a fan of myself. If I'm watching my movie, my life as a movie, I don't want to see this character go down. To me, that felt like a loss. Going back down, getting too close to like, hey man, this dude about to go back to jail? Like they handing out Ricos. Like, what you doing? Even one of my big homies and one of my little homies had that convo with me. Like, hey, man, they handing out Ricos. They handing them out. What you doing?
Yeah.
What you doing? And I'm like, I gotta do what Snoop said. And there's some people, I'll see you when you get there.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, hi, what's up? I'm going to give you a hug because I know what you went through to get up here. So I'm going to be happy to see you there. But I got to see you there. And there's other people, I'll give you a ride and you can hang out. And if your behavior belongs there, so do you. So it ain't nothing wrong with bringing somebody on the elevator, but they got to demonstrate they're supposed to be on that floor.
Yeah.
And if that ain't the floor they're supposed to be on, I can't be the reason they there. That can't be on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it go back to my children require me to be in this space. My life requires I power a lot of things, so I gotta go up and stay up. And my little homie told me that. He was like, man, get up out of here, man. Go. Take off. We want to see you on TV and cheer for that. We want to be like, look at, we made it. We made it.
Yeah.
It was like, but you down here, you keep coming back down here, and it's like, we worked, and our responses to your presence. It's like everybody in jeopardy now because we worried about what you doing. We worried about what's going on. He's like, now, take off, go.
It's more at stake. There's so much at stake. Like we gotta stay on that next level so that you can just continue to elevate and rise.
Yeah, I'm out of here, man.
Nah, that's what's up.
Gone.
So let's talk about you growing up in Sacramento. You got initiated into Garden Block Crips early.
Yeah.
What was even before that though? What were you into when you was growing up? Like, was music something early on that you fell in love with?
Yeah, unlike a lot of people, man, like I'm genetically related to my neighborhood. You know what I mean? My family members are in the hierarchy of Garden Block. And so, like, my particular section, the leadership over there is my DNA relatives, is my family members. And so I got put on, but I'm genetically from Garden Block, from 24th Street. But prior to all of that, my mama with the music in the house, you know what I mean? My family migrated from the South.
Okay.
You know, my father's side of family from Pritchard, Alabama, out Mobile.
Yeah, Pritchard ain't no joke, too.
At all.
Bro, I done kicked in Mobile a bunch of times and then been over to Pritchard, and it ain't no
It's
trick.
real. It's real. Pritchard, Chickasaw, it'll go down real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm off 124 North Joseph. We out there in Pritchard. They migrate to California. You know, some family members from Pritchard, and then my mama's part of family, which I've traced them back to like the 1700s being in Waco, Texas.
Oh, wow.
I've been on that. Like, really, I want to be able to show my babies,
Yeah.
you know, this is where we come from. And so they migrated. My grandmother went to LA, followed the Panther Party up to Palo Alto. And then when they went to Sacramento to do the gun rights protests, my grandmother ended up in Sacramento. My grandfather ended up in Sacramento, and all the kids came, including my mom. So they set up shop in Sac, and then I was born in Sacramento. My mama met my father. Ironically, he was in Oak Park at my Uncle Bodik's house, and I had an aunt that lived next door, and that's how my mom and my father met. And so, boom, I'm conceived and born in Sacramento, and my mama was big on music, so she ended up doing some DJing. Called her DJ Sugar Brand. And so like my first exposure to hip hop really was my mom doing her, just bumping, playing rock, bumping.
Okay.
You know, she had everything going, Jam on It. Like I got to hear it all happen, Bambaataa, the Mantronics. She was the Atlantic Star, Midnight Star. Mom's was the first one. Dougie Fresh, Ricky D, and before Slick Rick. Like my mama was slapping all of that. So like music just became a way of life for us, hip hop. And, you know, being in Northern California, when Too Short started doing what he was doing, because that's my OG. To me, Short was the one who kind of paved the way to make it feel like, you know, this was a doable thing, because he was telling people how to do it.
Yeah.
He didn't just do it and floss on nobody. He like, I won't stop rapping. I'm in the studio. I'm selling it out the trunk. He was telling us what to do.
Yeah.
And so eventually, when I started messing around with that, it was a lot of that was motivated off of what Short was doing and saying. And so we got to see that in our proximity to the Bay Area. But the impetus for like me ending up outside was my grandmother passed away. So like we had family celebrations, holidays, we had all that going. And then my grandmother had a massive heart attack in '86. And when she passed away, it kind of like everybody ended up falling out of her gravitational pull. And I ended up outside. And that next year, that summer, when I turned 13, that was it. That was the first time they let me hang out, start drinking, smoking, getting some grown woman vagina.
Yeah.
Like outside. And then that was pretty much it for me.
Word. So at what point would you say you jumped off the porch?
87, man. The weekend of July 30th, that weekend, I turned 13 and they let me, I was loose. It's been blocky ever since.
Yeah. And what about the street life was appealing to you at that age and being exposed to it at that time?
I think the camaraderie, the brotherhood, that was the biggest thing, because there was more of that than there was violence. Violence was usually in response to something that occurred, not necessarily something we was hunting for back then. And things changed when Reaganomics kicked in, war on drugs, which was really a war on my people. You had the crack epidemic jump off, and that quest for money and addiction and all these different things with the perfect storm and stuff got different after that, where it's like a couple of the wrong people die, and now it's just the snowball effect. We don't even know what we tripping for, but we super tripping. And that's kind of what happened by the time we got to 89, 88, 89, 90, that whole window, it was up.
Yeah.
It was up.
And you started recording music pretty early too.
I did. I started writing rhymes, like seeing and hearing Too Short was inspirational when I started messing around with that, but it was Cube, like getting a hold of NWA, getting a hold of them Dr. Dre instrumentals, and like when Cube dropped America's Most Wanted, man, that turned me out. That's why I did Euthanize, that shot that video in homage to Ice Cube. I don't think no Cube, no X-rated for me. You know what I mean? So like, once America's Most Wanted happened and then Kill at Will, I started writing rhymes for real. And Brother Lechon and Six ended up at my spot. Six was dating my cousin Nicole Lee. And so they came to a Christmas party. Y'all remember we celebrated my grandmother's death day. So it's December 17th, 1990. And Six come, Nicole brings Six with him, and I got all these rhymes pinned to the wall, like how people put up comic books or pictures. I had rhymes on the walls. And he was like, man, who's writing these? Who was writing this? I was like, shit, that's my shit. And he was like, I want you to meet somebody. You got to do this, this, and this. Boom. The next day, he bring Lynch over. So Brother Lynch popped up. All of them is like 7, 8 years older than me. So I know who Kevin Mann is, but I wasn't hanging out with them. You know what I mean? They was already in their 20s when I was a teenager. And so when he bring Lynch, we have freestyle sessions. And we just busting, rhyming all night at my own boy Percy house. And so Percy was a DJ, so we used to go over there. He had a little 4-track recorder. We used to record my little first mixtapes that started leaking around Northern Cali. And Lex was like, man, I'm gonna put you in a real studio. If you could pay for your time, I can make sure you make real songs. I was like, let's run it. So I'm like, shit. I told a couple of the homies, you know what I mean? They gave me a sack. I had like a £1/4. I went and got busy at the park. Boom, boom, boom. Made my money. Hit the studio. Paid for my first sessions. And that's kind of how Psychoactive began. I was beginning my first album.
And when I listen to Psychoactive, I definitely hear some Ice Cube, and I hear inspiration from Scarface.
Yep.
Word.
Yeah, that's my top 2 favorite rappers
okay.
of all time.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Is it true that Brother Lynch Hung drew like one of your first cover artwork?
Yeah, he did. He drew the cover for my Niggas in Black EP.
Okay.
1990. I dropped that in February of 1991. And Lynch hand drew that cover for me. He was always drawing. Lynch a talented dude. He used to do backflips. You know, he was breakdancing, striking. Like, he just was a talented walking exhibition of hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the elements. Lynch contained all of that.
And where did the name X-Rated come from?
So it's like, funny you mentioned Scarface. I remember Face was just Brad, B-Ax. And then he made a song called Call Me Mr. Scarface, so everybody called him Scarface. So we named it Scarface, right? And so I had a song where I was like, your girl called me X-rated when I'm digging her rotten. I said some shit, and then people just started saying X-rated, calling me that. I didn't really even have a rap name, but I said that line. So the people named me X-rated. And then Lynch was like, hey, R-A-I-D-E-D instead of R-A-T-E-D. He was like, this is gangster shit, rated, X-rated is some player shit. This ain't player shit. this is gangster shit. And that's how X-rated came to be. That it was, R-A-I-D-E-D instead of R-A-T-E-D.
Yeah.
And Lynch did that.
Word. And when you first started dropping music, what was that first reaction that let you know, like, man, all right, like I'm doing something right and I need to keep doing this. I need to stay active with this.
The homies started going crazy. There was a couple cats who used to come from P.J. Watts to South Sacramento, and they was grinding like Donkey Kong homeboys. Pee Wee, rest in peace. It was a bunch of them, and so I remember I had done a mixtape and the songs that I did with Lynch, because the homies said they hooked me up, so I wanted them to hear what I did. So I'm sitting in the Jeep with the homie, and he's slapping that shit, and that nigga turned that shit off and was like, nigga, this is as good as what anybody doing. He was like, you could really do this shit. He was like, you could really do this shit. And he hooked me up to make sure that I was powered up. That shit got me through most of the year. And so that was really the inspiration that I had, because I didn't realize how I was impacting nobody else other than the homies. I was tucked in my section, like when the people that I was exposed to in proximity to it, the 50s, 24th Street, 23rd, and the Cadillac Apartments on Reza. And so, I let old man from PJ's hear my shit, and he was like, man, you could really do this. And he hooked me up. I started grinding, and I kept going. And then them tapes started floating around, and they ended up, Young Meek, Big Meek ended up getting a hold of it, and Cedric Singleton, and then the rest was history. After that, it was on.
Right. And Meek is Sebo's brother, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's how you connect with Black Market Records, or that's how that formed, was from that relationship?
Kind of, I used to go sell, so I'm from 24th Street, which is Keyway, it's Crips, and if you jump the fence to 23rd, there's Damu's over here, 23rd, Babak, and so Meek is from 23rd. And so he's at a particular spot over there doing his thing. And the house next door to it was a trap house. So I'll be at the trap house getting off my shit on 23rd. And because it was super popping over there. So Big Meek, I would see him all the time. I always thought Meek was hella older than he was, because he had all the toys. Meek was balling. And so I end up going to juvenile hall. So I see Meek. We ain't talking a lot because we very clearly hanging out with two different groups. And but I know who he is, and he knows who I am, but we're not talking about what we up to. Our business was separate. And then I end up going to juvenile hall. I caught a joyride. I go to juvenile hall, and Meek is there. And I'm like, what the fuck you doing in juvenile hall, nigga? Jeep's like, man, I ain't doing it. He still was a juvenile. And I'm blessing rhymes, and he was like, hey, you were X-rated? Because Lynch drew my cover. So nobody knew what X-rated looked like. Nobody even knew it was me unless he was a homie that I personally was interacting with. You would have known that was me. And I was like, yeah. He was like, man, we had a conversation. He was like, man, when we get up out of here, holler at me. So boom, he give me a number. He get out of juvenile hall, I get out of juvenile hall. So I end up calling that nigga like, hey, you know what you want to do? What's happening? He was like, man, where you at? Tell him where I'm at. Boom. We link up, we run around, we start kicking it. I end up being my road dog, and Meek was like, man, I believe in what you're doing. Again, the streets taking care of me, helping me get where I was going. It was like, man, I'll take care of all the studio time, just get in there and do what you're doing, we got this. Let's do it. And this is before Death Row, before all of that. This was early. It was still just Ruthless, Rap a Lot on the West Coast, and then what Too Short had going on. Mac Dre was doing his thing. It was just very few people doing it at a supreme level. And sure enough, I get in the studio, bam, and then because Lynch is there, Lynch is now interacting, I got Big Meek involved, and then Bo come home. So you got Sebo, me, Brother Lynch Song, Big Meek, all of us together. When you think about that, we had a dream team, we had a gold medal dream team, and none of us really know it. Because we was just living it. We haven't really seen nothing like that before, other than what NWA had did. And that was damn near fantastical to think that we had a shot at something like that. Bam, so Meek started paying for the studio time. The Cedric had went to church and gave his card to my mom had my tape cover on her key ring, and he was like, you know him? She said, oh, that's my son. He gave my mom a card, boom. So I called Cedric. I tell Meek about that, and we pull up on Cedric. And I was like, that was it. He ended up being the first artist ever on Black Market Records.
And so then in 92, Psychoactive drops on Black Market Record.
Yeah.
Now, you starting to, you getting notoriety, your name's out there, buzzing like crazy, and then you get the first cover of Murder Dog magazine.
Yeah, I got the first cover of Murder Dog magazine ever, yeah.
Nah, that's dope. That was one of my favorite magazines.
Yeah, Murder Dog was special. Yeah, Black Dog Bone. Man.
Yeah, Black Dog Bone.
That's good people.
Yeah, nah, for sure. So now, what is it like after you drop Psychoactive? Like, what's the energy like for you? Like, do you feel like, damn, okay, I'm really a rapper. Like, I'm really doing this.
Yeah, I felt like I was on my way. I went to San Francisco, linked up with Stingy, and he took me over to RBL Posse, some interactions with them. Cool Net was doing his thing at the time. And so, I was just feeling myself. Ran in an E40 at the studio. There was a studio out in Richmond, and everybody used to be in and out of 40, Pac, Master P. Everybody used to kind of be moving around. And so, Richie Rich was a super inspiration, too. I can't leave Rich out. Rich was ahead of... I feel like Rich was ahead of all of us at that point. Rich was really moving, so I was inspired by him too. But I had started doing stuff like that, and I just felt like I had a chance. I felt like shit was real. I felt like I had a chance.
Now, is it true that Dr. Dre wanted to buy Black Market Record? Was interested in?
Yeah, okay, that's absolutely true. I think it's in Rolling Roll's book, Half Gun Will Travel, where when Dr. Dre left Death Row Records and was about to start his next thing, he wanted to call it Black Market Records. And he reached out to Cedric to buy the name, and Cedric wouldn't budge. He was trying to buy the whole thing. And so the aftermath actually happened because he couldn't get the title Black Market Records, and he went with Aftermath instead.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Now, what are some of your best memories after dropping this debut and everything that's going on?
Wow, my best memories was seeing myself in the Source magazine. That was the biggest moment. That was when it was damn, because I used to read the Source. Yeah, the Hip Hop Bible. I read the Source, To see myself in the Source was damn, this shit is real. You know what I mean? Damn. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that was the biggest one back then.
Word. Nah, that's what's up. And so then how much after this does the scenario happen where you end up getting locked up and charged for murder?
Yeah, it wasn't that long after that, man. It was probably 4 months. 4 months, man. Turn the album in, everything start popping off, and then bam, I get arrested, gang-related homicide. As a juvenile, I'm 17 years old, and now I'm fighting the death penalty.
Yeah, and they use your album cover as well as lyrics from some of your songs to convict you.
Yeah, they did. That's the first time in hip-hop history that ever occurred. They used the artwork to try to say that was the murder weapon, even though they never found a murder weapon. So, you can't do forensics from a picture, which is dope that I can say that out loud now and people can comprehend how fucked up that was that they did that. You know what I mean? To take a picture and insinuate and argue that this is the murder weapon with doing no ballistics. And then as a result of this picture, just saying, basically he shot somebody, made a song about it, and then used the gun on the album cover, and they just ran with that story for years. And I'm like, yo, they never found a murder weapon. They never did no ballistics. They don't know what firearm harmed anybody. They just made it up, and the media ran with it.
Right.
Man.
And what were your thoughts when you heard the word death penalty? that was a possibility?
Man, I was numb. Like, I'm 17, and I think, like, I worship God like a god at the time. So, like, you torn from having a sense of devastation that somebody was harmed, and then also wanting to still be, you got to survive this experience, and the way you have to do that, you gotta be sturdy, and you can't really have a lot going on, one too many expressions of remorse and none of that. And so, my psychology was like, whatever happens, like, it's the block. That's how I felt about it. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Whatever comes, I thought I was cooked. It felt like I was cooked. The news, the newspapers. So as far as I was concerned, it was just up. And that was that.
Word. And I know there was a home invasion, and there were a few other people with you. Did anybody else get charged?
Yeah, 5 of us total got charged. One ended up taking a deal against the other 4 of us. We split our trials into 2, so 2 went to trial, and then me and my homeboy went to trial together, and then he got acquitted, and I got convicted off of the music and off of the artwork. Really, they used all of that because there was no corroboration, there was nothing to do it with, so they just basically railroaded me with the music and the art, and then my code D went home.
Wow. And so basically, since you were the biggest name out of everybody,
Yep.
And because of the nature of your music, then they was just like, he got to be guilty.
Yeah, and people could see that now, how they arrested people over lyrics and they're not having First Amendment protections or anything like that. But now people understand it better. But back then it was just, but the time that we was in, Time Warner, Ice-T, Cop Killer with his band, Body Count, Tupac going through his circumstances, the situation with OJ, like it was Mike Tyson catching that case. It was a very certain kind of time in the country. You know what I mean? The LA riots in 92. So in that window from 92 to 95, 96, it just was very difficult culturally. And once the media got a hold of a story, to be able to counter any of that. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of fact checking going on, so they just railroaded me in the media, railroaded me in the courts. That was the end of it, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you first go in, do you go in with a mind frame of, you know what, I'm about to fight this, I'm gonna get an appeal, I'm gonna get out, or do you just accept what your potential fate is, which was told to you by the judge?
It's kind of both, because you got on one end, you got the OGs like, hey man, you about to have a journey. It's about to be experienced. Like, get on these burpees, get on that dip bar, so you preparing to be able to survive.
Yeah.
While understanding that, well, I do got a shot. So the lawyers are saying, man, this is all wrong. They violated your First Amendment rights. They violated this. They violated that. So I got both those things going at the same time. And once you're in a machine like that, hope is very difficult to muster. And then if you can muster it, it's hard to hold on to, because when you're in an environment like that, hopeless environments resent the presence of hope. Right? Because it's a statement. Like, if you have hope and I don't, then I got to squash that so I could be comfortable with the fact that I'm a hopeless person. So you got people that smother hope, any presence of it, any desire to do something other than just be on the monkey bars and doing, you know what I mean? That's gonna get crushed. And so that took some adjustment, you know what I mean? To recognize, like, damn, everybody just feel like it's all bad for themselves and for everybody else. Like, man, it's just all bad. It's like, I don't know, man. I had to personally build a sense of hope, faith, and belief for myself that took years to cultivate.
Now, they say that prison is supposed to be a form of rehabilitation. Having been there, is there any real rehabilitation happening, or is it truly a ploy to break you down as a man, break down your mind state?
I think it's both. I think that prison is by proxy designed to break you down. It's a penological system. But what happened is that in the state of California, the prison overcrowding created a threat to their federal funding. So they got forced to add rehabilitation to their name. So we used the California Department of Corrections. And then we watched that become the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation because it was, you're going to lose your money. So they started allowing programs to be created, but you had to have the personal wherewithal. There was no mandate to rehabilitate yourself. So if you just wanted to go out there and get high and go to your visits and eat your burritos and watch football and die one day and that be your 30, 40 years, good for you.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go sign up for school, go to college, go to self-help groups, do your thing, then good for you. So I was there early enough where we had to make the programs. We had to write Narcotics Anonymous and say, hey, we need a sponsor. We had to write the warden like, yo, if you give us this room, we got this sponsor that's willing to come in here and so we can have these programs. So we had to actually get it signed off and create it so that we could start trying to do something other than just stewing in the madness, you know what I mean?
And in your initial years in prison, how did you maintain your identity as an artist? Like, are you in there as X-rated, or are you in there?
Oh, yeah. There was no not knowing who I was. Like, everywhere I went, it was a big deal when I showed up. So it just was what it was. There was no escaping that. I think I held on to hip-hop almost like a lifeline. That was my place of sanity. I wrote that damn near desperately, just nonstop. So I ended up with so many songs. There's songs on Prophecy and Purgatory that I wrote. The Ecclesiastes was written in 1999.
Oh, wow.
I wrote The Harrowing of Hell in 2000. You know what I mean? That album, when I say Prophecy and Purgatory, like I really, you know what I mean? I update, you know, this chorus, this hook right here. But for the most part, the gist of what I'm communicating it's a real demonstration of what my psychology was. And like Thug Songs is the answer to this question. Like that song, I wrote that song in 2003 while I was in prison within the prison. Like Magneto, you know what I mean? They put me, they came and arrested me in the prison and put me in the jail.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm in this concrete box with white walls, and it got a slit in the window, but it's a white wall when you look out that window. So you can look this way and catch a glimpse of somebody walking by and they're gone, a nurse, a doctor, somebody, boom, they're gone. And then there's a slit in the roof where you get that period of sunlight, and that's it. And then you might get 2 or 3 hours out of the cell a week total in 7 days to go out in a cage and exercise in your boxers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And got to go out there and get some sun, do some burpees. And so I'm listening to the environment break people. I could hear the dude down the tier who can't take it, you know what I mean? He keep cracking. So I could see the choices or fortify myself or succumb to that pressure that eventually was cracking people's psychology. And Thug Songs was the result of that. I wrote Thug Songs while I was in that situation in 2003. Boom, that's one of the best received songs on this particular album. And so I was just writing in order to maintain my sanity. Like, I got to put this somewhere. Hip-hop became that mechanism for me to express myself in an honest way.
So there's another song called Whole from one of your other projects that I listened to, and that song, like it's so detailed to what you were dealing with while you were in there. Was that a song that you, because I know you recorded songs while you were locked up too. Was that a song that you recorded while locked up?
Yeah, I wrote the Hole in 1997. And it ended up on the album that I dropped in February 2000 called Nefarious. And that was when they filed a Son of Sam lawsuit on me. Trying to take all my papers saying I was profiting off of my crime, which wasn't accurate. And eventually that was defeated. So as a result of them filing the Son of Sam lawsuit on me, we beat that. And now anybody that writes a book, they could be paid for that. If they make an album, they could be paid for that. They can't take your money no more. And so I'm definitely proud of that. But yeah, the whole was around that period of time. Yeah.
Okay.
The autobiographical nonfiction.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. that whole like Son of Sam lawsuit that they put against you, and that was for the project. You said the Unforgiven Volume 1.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how interesting is it now that they passed, these laws where your music, your lyrics can't be used against you, in court. Now they have that, and then also even with your lawsuit, now people can still, I guess, like put out music, put out content, things like that.
Yeah.
Like that was a direct, result of what was happening to you, and these are now like big laws that have been passed, that other people aren't negatively affected by.
Yeah, I say 95% of what I experienced is currently illegal. Like, you can't take a juvenile and remand them to adult court no more automatically. That happened to me, boom. Juvenile was no longer allowed to face the death penalty. Boom, that happened to me. A juvenile can no longer be sentenced to life in prison without a realistic opportunity to be released if they demonstrate rehabilitation. Boom, that happened to me. You can no longer be convicted for felony murder. The felony murder rule was struck down and modified so that like 4 people, one person shot somebody, but all 4 people are guilty of first-degree murder. That's no longer legal. And then the lyrics, using the lyrics against people. So like all these things, I'll do 26 and a half years just so we could hit this point in time where almost all of these things are now illegal.
Wow.
That's insanity, man. But God is great.
Yeah.
And I feel preserved, upheld, blessed, and, grateful for my experience. And I'm glad that can't happen to somebody else's baby,
Yeah, nah, for sure. And when you're recording music while you're locked up, is this something where you calling home, they got the beat playing and you spitting over the phone, or do you have actual equipment inside and really working?
It morphed. In the beginning, I was in the Sacramento County jail. Well, the very first time, so Brother Lynch, he like, man, I need you to call home. And he's like, call me back, and I'm gonna let it go to the answering machine, and I want you to spit these bars. So I call him back, and I record the bars for 24 Deep on his answering machine around the corner at the payphone. I got the 40s in the tank, and I got that 9 Chrome Soul song that and like I do that, boom, Lynch takes that and places it into the song that like adjusts me. Then that's reel to reel back then. There wasn't no Pro Tools.
Yeah.
So he had to get that perfectly right. And then, so that was the first time really anybody did something over the phone.
Yeah.
That was the first time anybody did it. But Mac Dre did live from Fresno County Jail with the young black brother, that with them. And their producers, they called in and actually recorded directly into the mix board. So I didn't know that at the time. I know he did some stuff for Mac Mall like that over the phone. So I run into Mac Dre in the county jail, and he was like, ass, like you got to keep going. Every time I was in the Source magazine or something like that, it was always me and Dre together.
Yeah.
Because, we both from Northern California, so they be like, what's going on in Northern Cali? The Bay Area, Mac Dre and X-Ray. And so we were kind of attached to each other. So seeing him was dope, you know what I mean? I'm sure that was an accomplishment for him to be in the Source and Five magazine and all of that. And we almost always talked at the hip. And so he gave me the game. He was like, man, we went straight into the mix board. This is how we did it. I was like, okay, cool. Boom, I hit Cedric. Now I hit John Botch from Inharmonic Studios. And, Sacramento got some rock groups, Tesla, Deftones. So our studios were a little bit ahead of, other areas because we got these very strong, same thing in San Francisco, they had Journey, they had Metallica,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But in Sac, we had Tesla and eventually Deftones, so our studios was fire, and that's why Psychoactive held up so well. John Botch had a beautiful facility, and so I told him what they told me, and John Botch, Willie Charles, Trump Type, and Brother Lynch, they went in there and soldered the wires so that the phone line, when I called the phone, it came out of the speakers in the mix board and went straight into the channel. And they did the other side soldered the wire so that when they plugged it into the board, it was like headphones. So I'm calling two separate phones. I'm calling one phone to listen to the beat, and I'm calling the other phone to spit the rhyme. So I'm standing here with these two payphones side by side, and I'm listening to the beat over here, and I'm spitting the rhyme, and that was how I made the whole Exorcist album.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why it sound like that.
Yeah, damn, that's crazy though.
Yep, I'm doing overdubs, ad-libs, retakes, vocal tracks.
Yeah.
We made the whole studio out that bitch. And then, so I get to the pen, and it was different in the pen, you know what I mean? Like, so I end up with several different times, a whole studio in my cell, you know? Get that. I got DAT recorders, mini discs, big-ass keyboards, you know what I mean?
What?
Yeah, they come take my shit, but I'm ahead of the rules. So it's crazy that at the time, you know what I mean, I'm doing this time, and like I got forever. I'm not worried about what somebody else would be worried about in terms of getting in trouble. I got forever. I'm never going home.
Right.
So to me, making Unforgiven was very important. And I felt like Psychoactive was a young statement. Exorcist was a young statement. So Unforgiven was an adult statement. It was the first time they heard me speak as a growing young man. And so I had a lot to say, and it was important for me to say that stuff. So like getting at the equipment in the rule book don't have a rule against this. So it created a lot of hate. They had to figure out, how do you stop this dude? Because there's no rule against having this equipment, because who the fuck would ever have it? Why do you need a rule? This would never happen. Same thing, the cell phones. And when cell phones first started popping up, I started getting cell phones up in there. You get busted with a cell phone, they can't find a rule to charge you with. So they got to give me contraband, possession of contraband, 3006C at a CCR Title 15. Man, I had one time they searched my cell. I got a two-way pager, a cell phone, a keyboard, like a mini disc recorder. I got all this different stuff, and they take it all, and they think they got me, and they left my life. I had a lighter, and they threw the lighter in the trash. Wrote me up for all of that. Can't figure out what to charge me with. They waiting like 45 days. It's way too long.
Yeah.
Finally give me possession of contraband, like if I had a picture of a naked chick. That was the rule that I violated, was we're going to take you can't have yard for 30 days. You can't get no canteen for 30 days. That was the worst punishment they could give me for making an album. But the lighter was a caustic substance, and they could have gave me a whole year and a half, 2 years in the shoe, and threw it away because they just thought this equipment was worse than the lighter. I was like, you stupid. But that's why they start doing shit like that. Father, son, and Sam lawsuit on me, throw me in a hole for nothing. You know what I mean? Come and get me in the middle of the night, drag me through like Magneto again. I'm back in this box. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write me 40 songs. I'm gonna get out this bitch and I'm gonna make another album on you all. That's how I felt. And so it just became a game of cat and mouse, and them figured out how to move their chess pieces to stop me, and me trying to stay ahead of the rule book, you know what I mean?
And I'm sure they're hating because you locked up and you making this music, and some of the music is hitting Billboard charts.
All of it was. I was like 5 in a row, Billboard charts, top 14, Heat Seekers on Unforgiven, Run Nefarious right back on the charts. Vengeance is Mine, 100,000 first week, you know what I mean? No music video, nothing. Just straight bars in the streets, you know what I mean? And they couldn't stop it.
Now, when you're making this music, is your mindset to build on your legacy and to tell some of your story, or is it just to make money for commissary and to be able to, take care of things back home and things like that? What's the mindset?
We get $7 an album at the time. So by the time I do Vengeance is Mine Initiation, I'm getting $6, $7 every time I drop an album, and I'll do 100,000 first week on Vengeance is Mine. Well, you know what I mean? We over $500,000 after taxes. Like, I wasn't caring about nothing about no food. It was really about, like, I wanted to say something. Like, I wrote Deadly Game about the 3 strikes law, what the governor at the time in California was doing. And that's when Wendy Day started looking for me, and Davey D and them starting to I started saying things that mattered to people that were important to me as well, speaking up for people who couldn't speak for themselves, but also just espousing my current philosophy that I wanted to grow up, that I wanted the best for people. It just changed. It went from super gangbang, crazy music to having a political awareness, a socio-political consciousness. And I think I was super inspired for people to hear that part of me and understand I wasn't this. I wrote Psychoactive when I was 14 to 17 years old, and it's stamped as a statement of my psychology that defined me for almost a decade. So I wanted people to hear Misanthropy, Land of the Lost, the Hold On. Like, I wanted people to know that I wasn't just a shoot 'em up, kill 'em up, bang, bang. I wanted to be considered an elite MC. I wanted to be respected for my storytelling. Scarface, Ice Cube, Tupac. I understood introspection. Nas, you have to have introspection. You got to be able to tell a story. You got to have some form of inspiration. It can't just be to be elite. You can't just be rapping about whatever. There's so many people that could cleverly put together words. And, I had an argument with somebody about Luda. I'm like, Luda, one of the dopest rappers in the history of hip hop ever. Bar for bar for bar for bar. Why is he not in the top 10 to people? Why? And they like good lyrical content. Subject matter, what he chose to rap is. So rapping about being a dope rapper is not good enough to be considered the dopest rapper.
Yeah.
Because everybody on the list is meaningful content.
Right.
This inspirational music is motivational. He has that too, but it's outweighed. So I'm in a full-blown argument about that. What's required to be really considered one of the elite is you have to have a socio-political consciousness. You have to be aware. You have to be speaking on something that really matters. You got to be able to bar up if it's necessary. And you got to be able to represent yourself and the people. And if you can't do that, you're not going to be one of the gods. And I felt like I hit a point where I just wanted to be considered one of the dopest rappers ever from anywhere, but especially from where I was from. So I feel like you get that outward. And that's how you start. It's like, he did that. Is he as dope as these guys? Yes. And you climb your way up what I call Mount Olympus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was motivated by that. I was writing and just coming from a place of wanting to be elite, and that improved my vocabulary, my comprehension. The autobiography of Malcolm X by Alex Haley. I read that, started studying the dictionary because Malcolm X did it. And it just, now I'm equipped to, like, man, there's a word for this thing I've been feeling. It's called this.
Yeah.
This hopelessness is called nihilism. This is called, I started understanding how to use the language, man. I felt like I was going to be a problem.
Do you feel that your music would have taken that direction, let's say, if you wouldn't have gotten locked up? Or would it have stayed in the psychoactive vibe that you were given on your first project?
I think, I'm going to say shout out to Miss Jazz, my mom. I think that because of the demands that she placed on us for our intellectual capability, my mother has a autobiographical photographic memory. Is like the smartest person I ever met in my life. You know what I mean? Or her recall. And so there was almost a demand for awareness, you know what I mean? And her exposure to the Panther Party. I remember telling my mom, man, when I was a kid, we had it so rough when I was a kid, and I was telling her a story. We went and got food we had to get food from the pantry. And she was like, we wasn't getting food from the pantry. We was handing out food to other people from the pantry. It's like, you wasn't at no pantry getting no food. And I'm like, damn, you know what I mean? Like the way you could perceive something as a child.
Yeah.
And so that was my mom. And then watching the evolution of Ice Cube and watching the evolution of Scarface, those two being the most influential MCs on me, I think I would have took that natural progression because of the forces that I had in my life. If I had the time to develop from 17 to 25, I think I was going to hit a certain arc. I'm very careful not to imply that my environment was the reason why I came to be what I was, because I don't want no kid out there to think for 1 second that it's necessary There's a rite of passage to go to prison in order to hit a milestone. That shit is bullshit. I think what I had was isolation, solitude, and exposure to the right materials. You know, I had a brother named Rick Rock from Bounty Hunters who, he tricked me, really. He was like, yeah, hey, youngster, because they perceive something in me. You know, I'm already X-rated. I'm already on Billboard charts. I'm in the magazines where you order the music from. And this brother was like, man, I got this book, but I got to read this other book, and I'm only halfway through this book. So can you read this book and then tell me about it, and then I'm going to finish the other one, and then we'll swap. He was like, and that way you help me catch up. He did that to me about 4 or 5 times before I realized. He read all them books before, you know what I mean? But that was his way of giving me some education. So I had exposure to brothers that had, you know, from all walks of life, from Jama, the brothers from Kumi from the Bay Area, brothers from the Damos, OG Damos, and of course the Keyways, who took an interest in making sure that I reached my potential and what they saw in me. So what I needed was father figures who were encouraging me to the right direction, or even if they were just big brothers. And some cultivation. And so I received that in the environment that I had to receive it in, but it's a big world out here. And it's a lot of beautiful brothers that would have been able to give me that, and women who would have been able to nurture it once I received it. So I definitely don't want no implication that it's necessary to go through that experience. I think it's necessary to have exposure to quality information coming from quality people, and I think they are available to be found. Yeah.
How much of the music was therapy for you and helped you to get through the time?
All of it. Every last bit of it. You know what I mean? I'll have some emotional where I'm hitting this intellectual spike, and then I'll have a crash because of some external stimulation, either from the Department of Corrections, you know, because once they figured out they couldn't stop me, they start playing dirty politics. See if they can have me crash over here with this group, crash over here with that group. They start doing it that way. And because, you know, almost all shots get called by the police. You know, people don't like to admit that, but they calling almost all the shots in them environments ultimately. But I think I was going in that direction, and I'll have a moment, and then I'll rebound. And so my spiritual, psychological, and my mental health, my awareness, my metacognizance, it was recorded and documented from 1992 to this very day, to this album. You know, it's not a lot of people who could say that my development, my psychological development was recorded for the world to see practically from my entire adult life, and a significant portion of even my juvenile experience, for my teenage experience. 14, I started writing Psychoactive, dropped that at 17. The Exorcist takes care of that next chunk, and it's been like that. So like, Thug Song is a great example. You know, that song talks about the process of accepting or walking through that fire to accept whatever I perceive my responsibilities to be and obligations to myself and to others, and ultimately what my commitment was. That song on this album is the moment where it's like, this is what it is. This is what I'm going to do. I accept my duty that I perceive myself to have with God himself, that I'm going to accept that, and we're going to rock out, and I'm going to do it the way that he want me to do it. And I don't care who don't like that. Then.
At what point during your stint were you locked up with Sebo?
Oh man, early. Me and Bo ended up in the county jail together.
Okay.
That's when I gave him Deadly Game. I spit that song, he loved it, and then we ended up going, I went to DVI, the Homeboy, Big No Love, G Squabbler, Eloque. There was a bunch of us in there. And so Bo ended up coming, and so like he ended up in like on the second tier in like 219, boom. I go up there, me and Paul, because No Love went home. He was just on a violation. I was in the cell with No Love. And then boom, I go up there with Bo. We just eating and writing and going to the yard and kicking it. He was like living the experience, but he was on his way, you know, he ain't out forever. He was on a violation at the time, I think, on a joint suspension. And I had just got that life sentence. So in my mind, it's like Bo about to go be the one. You know what I mean? Bo had the shot. He with his freedom. He's on All Eyes on Me with Tupac. Tupac is openly professing him to be his favorite rapper. You got DJ Screw. So I'm like, okay, I gave Bo everything I had. Like, hey man, I wrote up to here. Think, you know what I mean? And he was like, okay, he kind of sifted through that and picked what he wanted to pick, because it was like, you the best shot we got, and we meant that. Not even from a place of like, Bo needed me to write no rhymes for him. Bo was dope as fuck, still here. And so it was more like, that's how much I cared. That's what I have to contribute. Like, let's go. We need you to do it. You got to be you. And then bam, like, we doing all that and got all that help, and then we find out Pac died. Like, while we was together, you know what I mean? They came to the cell crying. The female came to the cell door crying, told us Tupac got shot. And then Bo was like, man, that nigga gonna make it. He always getting shot at. Like, he gonna be all right. And boom.
I think that was all of our mind frame with Pac when that happened. Everybody, we were all just like, all right, he
gonna be all right.
Yeah, he gonna recover. He gonna be straight.
Yeah, and then boom, September 13th, 96. They came and told us, and then Bo was like, man, his hopes and his dreams, his whole, you know what I mean? Pac was trying to sign me to Machiavelli Records. You know what I mean? It was up. Bo was going to do it. He was going to do it. And we knew it. That was a big loss. So I had to watch him, like, more than that, maintain his composure and shit. Like, that was some heartbreaking shit. And then nevertheless, how we felt about Pac himself and what he meant to the culture. So that was a devastating blow right there.
Wow. And there was a scenario where you basically had Bo back, and there you guys got into a fight with some other inmates, and it expended some time on.
Yeah, man. Bo crazy, man. Bo crazy. Bo gonna tell you what he think, man. So Bo was talking to somebody in the tank. I was outside of the tank, and I was like using clippers. And I see Bo arguing with this cat, and it's another dude who's pacing. So I see this cat behind Bo, and I start walking toward the door, and I open the door, this dude stood up on the couch, and he was about to kick him in his face. He's about to kick Bo, and I splashed him with the barbicide. You know, that's what I had in my hand. I splashed him. Bo didn't even question it. He just turned around and got on him. So we maxed him out. Everybody scattered. I'm in the wrong tank. I don't live in this tank at the time. I'm in 300 pod. Bo's in 200 pod. And I think we was on like 5 West in the Sacramento County Jail at the time. And that was how I ended up with 31 to life. I got 25 to life, and they gave me 6 years for splashing the dude. But that's better than him kicking Bo in the face, honestly. So it is what it is. But that was the psychology of the time. I think, you know, if somebody tried to do that to Bo today, we gonna have a similar outcome. It is what it is.
Gotta have your people's back.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So then later on, while you're in jail or while you're in prison, you end up meeting the Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
Which at the time they had like this huge over popularized trial, you know, thing that they were dealing with. I mean, this was like all over the news. It was I don't know if it was worldwide is the right thing to say, but I know all around the country, wherever you were, you heard about the Menendez brothers.
Yeah.
How did you come into contact with them, and can you speak on like the impact that they had on you? You know, like,
yeah, man. So like, you go from psychoactive, exorcist, unforgiven, nefarious, vengeance is mine, and then I got a letter. Monster Cody started writing me, and I got a letter from Tukey Woods, and they threw me in the dungeon, and kept the letter for like 2 months. I finally got it. It was beat up. You could tell they investigating these coded messages, and they was just encouraging me to live my best life. But I ended up getting validated, classified as a high notoriety public interest case, which is like the highest thing you could get. And like I think it was only 3 African Americans I've ever known that have had those designations. Was Tukey, Monster Cody, and myself. And so I got high notoriety, public interest case designation, and validated. and essentially like celebrity status. So I'm on this facility, Suge Knight, myself, and then Lyle Menendez ends up coming. And so like that was the first time I started seeing, because it's like I went from like super gang member to 6-time in a row Billboard top 20, you know what I mean? To having that occur, even making some money, go from touching $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 here and there to doing $500,000 in the first week, you know what I mean? Like my whole life between 1992 and by the time you get to 04, I'm just at a completely different level of my experiences. So I ended up being exposed to Lyle Menendez first. And that's when I learned, like, it's a different level. You know, this nigga Barbara Walters coming in and interview him. ABC News, they all over the TV. I'm like, what the, you know what I mean? So media training. He started telling me, like, man, you gotta conduct yourself a certain kind of way. Like, I'm wearing jewelry in the, you're not supposed to be wearing this shit. They come, MTV came to interview me in the day room. Oh my God, these big ass earrings. He was like, don't embarrass the institution because they're gonna investigate you. They go come and look for your jewelry. Like, don't do that. Don't put them on blast. Like, if they don't care you got it, don't embarrass them by sitting here on the camera and like, you know, them earrings and shit. So like Lyle taught me a lot of different ways of how to handle the fact that I was X-rated. Because I used to show up, I had a hostile relationship with the administration because I'm an active gang member from the streets. You know, to me, they cops, you know what I mean? Lyle and Eric both thought more like politicians, where it's like you have to have, there's a give and take involved in this. There's a collaborative experience where the LA Times is coming to interview you here. You got stories in Playboy magazine. This ain't just XXL no more. This ain't just Source magazine, which was everything to me. That mattered. But, you know, they like, this is Good Morning America, bro. This is ABC News. This is New York Times, LA Times. This is a different air. And you making institutions nervous now. The warden got to be worried about you because New York Times is calling his institution about X-rated. So you this dude, you either go and make sure he knows that you're not here to be a threat. You're going to do you, but you're not here to be a threat to cause a commotion. Or he going to ask everybody else. They're going to have to investigate you and conclude, and you're going to end up I'm Magneto in the box again, over and over and over and over. So Lyle and Eric kind of gave me the game on how to do my time as a famous person, and then they started giving me the game on those self-help groups and like how to, when I started doing like we would do the bylaws and figure out how to get the Narcotics Anonymous in there. I learned that from Lyle and Eric. They was pushing that kind of line. Like, and they didn't really have no benefit. They had life without the possibility of parole, but to them it was about quality of life. And these things are necessary for the proper functioning of this environment. And so they would push along like that. So I think I learned to be a politician from Lyle and Eric. I understood how to be a politician as a gang member, but they taught me how to be a politician on a different tier,
Yeah.
at a different level.
And I know they recently were fighting to like get their case appealed, and I saw Kim Kardashian was, you know, really like advocating for them, and a lot of people were advocating for them, but I believe that they weren't granted an appeal for their conviction from years ago.
So it's multiple layers to it. So we had an experience where they lost a few appeals, but ultimately the resentencing, they were doing like me and Court flew out to LA. Well, he was already in LA, but the resentencing we won.
Okay.
So the judge, ultimately it was demonstrated that they did their time in a way where the original sentence of life without the possibility of parole was no longer sued. And I love that because one of the reasons I advocated so hard for it was that it set precedents. So now even the rule books are different now as a result of this ruling that we got back in April, where the judge determined that they should be resentenced to, I think he gave them 50 to life instead of life without the possibility of parole. It's created now a new process for everybody, including people who look like me,
Right.
in order to be able to have this opportunity that we wouldn't have had if they didn't do what they did, if they didn't have that particular victory. So we had an experience where we lost other things, but that one was grand. So having been resentenced to 50 to life, they became eligible as youthful offenders under Senate Bill 260, which is how I got out. And so like being having 31 to life because of the ruling in Miller versus Alabama in the Supreme Court, it ended up making it to where juveniles could no longer be sentenced to capital punishment without a realistic opportunity to go home. So boom, once they get 50 to life, they automatically eligible for parole hearings as youth offenders. And they just got denied and will go back in about 12 months from now. They'll be back in front of the board, and I believe both of them going to be granted parole at that time. They're going to be going home.
Especially with some of that new evidence that had been coming out about, their father sexually assaulting other young men. You saw that during that time, so.
Yeah, that dude was no joke, man. Dude was a horrible human being. You know what I mean? He was a terrible dude. But, he was the president at RCA Records for a while. I think he signed Menudo, molested half the group. He, a lot of people had deals between the RCA, Jive. Like, I was paying attention to that. And Short came through Jive, and Spice One, 40. That was close to home for me. So, this dude was an executive over there, and he was moving in a real slimy way. So it's understandable. At this point, it's not something that could be denied. And as a father, as a father, it's just the slimiest shit ever. That's slime. That don't even deserve to be called slimy. That's disrespectful to slimy people. That's just a pure evil, just horrible shit.
Yeah, no, for sure. What message would you share about mentorship and accountability in a prison setting? Because I know that it has to even be difficult to even take feedback or, like have somebody trying to tell you, especially it's like you looking at somebody and it's like, how you telling me how I need to proceed and move to potentially get out, and it's looking like you don't have a way, to get out.
Yeah, there is a point where the ego got to die. Like I said, if somebody means well, you could feel that and you could see it. If people conducting themselves a certain kind of way, man, I don't care who I get the game from.
Yeah.
It ain't no different than Mac Dre giving me the game about how to record my music. If somebody trying to give me some game and I could tell that what they trying to give me is healthy, it's beneficial, it's nutritious, I'm gonna need to play to that, you know what I mean? I need that in my life. It is what it is. So that's me. My ego is not greater than my desire to learn, to be educated, and to have good leadership in my life. And, anybody that still got that impediment, they gonna suffer the consequences of that, for sure, And I think it's very important in all walks of life to have mentorship. If you're the smartest person in the room you in, it's time to find a new room. The person needs to be exposed to environments that are challenging, that are difficult to maintain. This is increasing your muscles. It's increasing your spiritual muscles, psychological muscles, and it equips you. I've been in a room with a man who got $500 million, and I went somewhere with him, and I watched him be the little money. I watched it. He was the little money. Them people had money. They had unnecessary money. I watched some unnecessaries, like, I seen some shit. I saw some shit. Yeah. And I saw somebody that, to me, this nigga got money. And he was the little money over there. He was the little, Now I'm like, why, this dude is still exposed? Because he got shit and aspirations I don't even know about. He got stuff he want to do. And I'm like, watching, like, man, this dude is still exposing himself to people more powerful than him and people who know more and doing more than him, and opportunities to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be able to still keep his hustle going and keep it, because that's the way it go.
Yeah, you need to be forever inspired, because once you, like you said, like if you're the smartest person in the room, if you're always the wealthiest person in the room, then it's like, all right, what inspires you to keep going and to push that ceiling even further?
Yeah, man, I'm a believer. And I think that's true educationally, spiritually, psychologically, any environment that you could be in that's challenging you to be better than you currently are, that's the place to be. That's the place to be.
Now, in 2018, after serving 26 years, you get released from prison.
Yeah.
Bro, what was the first thing you did when you got out?
I went and got me a hamburger. I didn't want no hamburger, but it wasn't nothing open. It was late. You know what I mean? They put me in a cage. Because I'm a high notoriety public interest case at the time, I required secure transport. So like if I went to the doctor, they think you got enough influence and money to be able to ambush them. So I got to be moved. So when they let me go, they use that as an excuse to put me in a cage, put me in chains, put me in a van, in a cage, and drive me all the way to Oakland. Because I had to go to one county over. I had 9 restraining orders on me. So I end up in a county over from the county of your committed offense. That's the law. So they drive me all the way up there. My parole officer that received me was an OG black dude. Look, he was an unk.
Yeah.
Man, he cussed them people out. Take the motherfucking checkers off. What the fuck is wrong? I could hear him.
Yeah.
He was tripping on them, but like I had to deal with my psychology. Like, do the feds got me? Like, am I about to get picked up?
Right.
Like, I just got released. I just got off this life sentence and I'm chained up. So I have to modulate my spirit now. What am I experiencing? These people about to, I'm like, hey man, there's a few things I could be grabbed for.
Yeah. Oh shit.
You never know, you know what I mean? They've been playing with me the whole time. So I'm like, damn, am I about to get hit with the feds or what? But then when we got there, I put myself in peace, like, man, just take the drive and life is gonna do what it's gonna do. God had you the whole time. He still got you. I have to have this positive internal dialogue with myself for that whole drive from San Diego to Oakland. That's a drive. And so, boom, that's the first thing that happens. So by the time I get processed and I'm able to leave the transitional house, shout out to Mr. Fab, man. His auntie worked at the transitional house and shit. And so I don't want to get him in no trouble. But yeah, I ended up being able to go get me full of shit. And man, it was so late. I was like, fuck it. I'll just stop right there. Yeah, to me, motherfucker, him. But like standing at the ocean, the Jack London Square, you know what I mean? Looking out at the bay, that was special. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That was special, breathing the air. The arms pulled up on me, made sure I was good. You know what I mean? So I'm insulated and just standing there looking at the water like, damn. You know what I mean? That was a beautiful experience.
What was the most difficult adjustment that you had to make as a free man?
Oh, I think the most difficult adjustment I had to make was like coming to accept that I was responsible for, like myself. I needed to take control of my life. That was difficult because I wasn't aware that, I left at 17. I spent the entirety of my adult life incarcerated. Certain structures I had in my life that I was used to. And then it's like, I know what I want to do versus what I'm expected to do, what people want me to do. So there was that initial clash of like having my own identity and being permitted to have that, and then we're having rebellions in order to assert that. I want to live my life in order to be free. To truly be free, I need to be doing what I want to do. And so that was probably the most important one. I feel like I finally pulled that off when I got off parole. Yeah, March 1st to 2022. I finally got off parole, and then it takes 7 years so they say temporary restraining order is like 3 to 5 years, and a permanent restraining order is 5 to 7 years. It's ironic that it's called permanent, but it's 5 to 7 years. So I got off parole in 22, and it wouldn't tell me if my restraining orders was imposed by the parole board or by the courts. So they playing games, and it's like my lawyer's like, man, if you go home and you get pulled over, they can still play with you because we don't know. The courts won't tell me. The parole office is like, your file is closed. We don't know what you are or aren't. That's not our responsibility no more. Hit the court. So I can't get an answer. And so I had to wait it out. So this year was my first year where in May, the restraining orders, hypothetical or not, that was my 7 years.
Yeah.
So that's when, people start seeing me pop back up in Sacramento at home, going to feel the energy and, spread some love.
Yeah. How soon after you were released did you start doing music, start recording?
Man, like 3 days. 3 days, man. I ended up at the homie house. We start figuring out production. Start going to Nexus Audio with Chris Paxton. Was a savage. He's a beast, and he kind of taught me, how to operate in the studio, modern technology. It was phenomenal. Great relationship still with somebody who could have gave me that education. It was a good starting point for me, to be able to go as far as I did and be in the rooms I'm in now, $20 million studios, you know what I mean? But Chris Paxton got me there, and he's still, one of my favorite engineers or producers ever, from then up to now. But he's definitely was the one who got me ready.
And how crazy is it that now, everything's done digitally. We on these computers, Pro Tools. If you mess up, you just click the space bar, drag it over, go and record again. No more DATs and having to be super on point, or mad that you done used up all the tape on the
2-inch tape, real. Yeah, it's a different experience. I'm a big fan of analog, that warm sound, the feeling of it. But I like the proficiency, the speed. I'm not anti-technology. I just feel like the best way is if we can integrate organic, analog, and technological advancements. That's when it's special, so I'll try to blend them as much as possible.
Word. And how much have you adapted and even accepted the social media age and all these apps we got and all of these platforms that you have to be relevant on?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I'm not the biggest fan of social media in the way that it demands itself to be utilized to satisfy algorithms. I didn't want to be social media influencer. That's not something that I wanted to be and want to still remain, to be one of the dopest MCs that ever exists. I never really cared, how many likes I got on a picture. I cared how many people fuck with this song.
Yeah.
And was it meaningful? Did I say something that I could live with forever? And now that's been exacerbated by the fact that I got these babies. Now I want my sons to be able to fuck with what I'm talking about. Like when they get a little bit older, be like, man, Pops was on one. I respect where he was coming from. Like that mattered to me now. So I just feel like you go from having artists who could be mysterious to some of them dudes and females wouldn't be successful now. Because the mysterious don't work if you don't got the machine, you ain't high enough. If you Kendrick Lamar, you could post when you want to. If you Kanye, you could post when you want to. Jay-Z pop up, use his Instagram once every 3 years. These posts go nuclear. Dr. Dre posts every 6 months maybe, you know what I mean? Like you gotta already be a superstar for these machines to work, or you gotta basically live on it and do things outside of the realm of music. So it's like there's people who are demonstrating how to do this correctly. Like the little homies like Russell from Vallejo. He's giving people a lot of game. The homie the Mizza, he's using it correctly where, you just have to communicate with people and be authentic. So I think there's an opportunity for authentic communication. And they could call that being a social media influencer, but I don't want to have to do no TikTok dance to activate no algorithm. You know what I mean? I'd rather not. And so, like, if conversation and legitimate, authentic expressions are good enough, then we could. I could vibe with that. We can do it.
Word.
Yeah.
And how did you connect with Tech Nine and become a part of Strange Music?
Man, I started going to Kansas City. So my grandfather's buried in Kansas City. And my mom, my family was coming out there. My cousin Derek Johnson played for the Chiefs. And so my family was around, Louis Coleon. It was all around Kansas City. So I was doing that, coming out there to work with Robert Rebag. And then I had a show. And I went and did that show, and people started hitting me up like, man, where you going? First it was hella mysterious. Like, man, where you going? Are you going to the barbecue tomorrow? It's like, what barbecue? They like, the homies is having a barbecue, all the keyways, everybody pulling up to the barbecue. I'm like, I'll think about it. And then somebody else said, you going to the barbecue? I'm like, what's so important about this barbecue? They like, Tech 9 is coming to the barbecue if you going. I was like, I didn't even believe it. I was like, yeah, Tech 9's going to a crib barbecue in Kansas City. Like, nigga, like what? But now I know, like, yeah, that nigga would hella go, yeah. You got to get to know him to find that out, you know what I mean? But, so I'm like, man, whatever. So the right people end up calling me. My little homie Trez hit me. I love Trez. You know, you're a good man. Trez is like, hey, man, where you going for dinner tonight? What you going to eat? And I was like, man, I'm looking at this place around the corner. I'm going to go over there. He's like, cool, I'll be there in 15 minutes. Tech will be there in 30. I was like, oh, shit. Like, all right. So we go over there. And sure enough, man, they walked through the door. Broke bread with, gave me a hug. You know, he had jumped on social media one time, like, man, we gonna see each other, really. We gonna see each other, much love. I was like, for sure, that's one of his sayings. We gonna see each other. He's like, hey, man, it's a small world. This industry makes the world smaller. We gonna see each other. It's like, okay, boom. He walked right through the door. He said, we gonna see each other. Gave me a hug. And he sat down, we ate a meal, vibes, just kicked it. And he called Travis. He excused himself and came back on his phone, was like, hand me the phone, it's Trav. He was like, man, what you doing Monday? I was like, shit, what do I need to be doing Monday? He's like, man, you know, if you're available, blame it, van. I was like, yeah. So my people, man, alter them flights. We're going to be here a little longer. Yeah. And went to see Trav. Tech did his rehearsals. Went and got some food with Tech and his family. You know what I mean? He brought his people out. It was me and Brother Lynch. And them two was able to have a positive ass conversation. It was dope. And yeah, man, went and kicked it with Trav, flew back to Vegas. And Trav ended up coming to Vegas to visit me. Tech came and visited me, and then boom, ended up getting my chain at Red Rocks, get my deal. Yeah. And the rest was history.
That's what's up, bruh. And Strange Music is like the perfect label for you because you, over the years, organically cultivated and built your fan base, and they followed you, over all of those years. And Tech 9, on the outside has done the same thing, and so it seems like the perfect mesh, where you. And then also just being able to tap in with other fans of Strange Music, of Tech 9 and other, dope artists that they've had on the label. And Tech 9 has been known for signing nothing but just killers on the microphone. Yeah, that's and so that respect level that he has for you and then that his fans brings over to you, I'm sure is just a great feeling, to have, and a great.
Yeah, man, it's really dope. Like having a machine like that, out with that education that's available. I get treated very well. Tech and Travis, Yeah. They both, I think, are some misunderstood dudes. People don't understand what it requires to be who they are. And so, like, understanding the nuances, my relationships with them. I'm really proud of it. It's dope. They got my back. And so, like, I've learned a lot of stuff that applies to life. Like, Tech is a nurturer and Travis is a disciplinarian. And so they both have that energy, and you can learn from that. It's a lot of, like, the way Trav processes information, watching and learning that process, his perspective about how things are supposed to be organized, man, is very valuable to be exposed to that kind of psychology to apply to my life. I'll apply that to my life. What I've learned from Trav, I fuck with Trav heaven. And, Tech is my big brother. And, I just love him. He's a good dude, as advertised. They say don't meet your heroes or whatever. Tech is really Tech, for real. Like, I haven't really seen him off mission. And so that's been very valuable for me. I think I've learned a lot from my life. And, as somebody who didn't have a lot of freedom of being exposed, these are two great men for me to have been able to learn from like that. And I've reaped a significant benefit. And like what you said about the fans, For me, I got people who were rooting for me while I was incarcerated. I come home and when I talk about like, what am I going to do with my life, or X-rated got to grow up, those people deserve a version of me that they could be proud that they rooted for. You know what I mean? And I think I deserve that for myself as well. Yeah. And that's another, conversations I have to take a Trav about that, like where I'm going with my life and my career. And it's dope to just have fans to support that. Yeah. And who root for that and want that for me, for my life, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's really dope. So yeah, man, I'm proud of it. Everybody who supported me through my bid, all the fans from Strange Music, you know what I mean? I've been able to do really well. Albums charting, you know what I mean? Like videos running up 1 million views here, you know what I mean? It's beautiful.
Yeah. And Tech is a cat that stays on that road.
Yeah.
How have you gotten a taste of that road life?
Yeah. I mean, I just came off the road with him. We just did a bunch of shows, handful. So, I mean, this is like my 6th, 7th city, 10 days. Oh, wow. Like, I got to the house, got me some sleep, played with my kids, hung out with my lady. Yeah. And then so I'm at the airport in Atlanta, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's been like that. When I get back, boom, got a show that night, Tech pulling up, do that, get home, and then the 26th finally get a breather. And you never just ready to go. You never know what the hell we gonna have to do. Yeah. So like I'm ready to go.
Nah, that's what's up, bro. I know you happy to just be in this position to have such a busy schedule and have to divvy up your schedule and make sure that you giving the kids time, giving yourself time, but then also giving your career time and making up for, some of this lost time.
Yeah, man, it powers everything. So it's like, priority-wise, you got to have it to where the thing that powers your life got to be up here, and it feeds and allows all that other stuff. So, I go home and walk in my home and get that peace and all that positive energy with my babies, you know what I mean? Watch something with dinosaurs in it for my oldest boy, and just him and Nate, that energy in their house. Yeah. Talk with them on their level, read some books, go get it in, drag home something to eat, go get it killed, bring it home, you know what I mean? And it's been a beautiful experience, man. I can't lie, I love it, and that's what I want to share with people as I go into this next project, into this next stage. The album ends the way it ends, so that I can go ahead and make that transition. Like, man, come on with me, y'all. Like we did that. We got through that. We survived it. This is how we did it. For the process to be exposed to people, I'm more concerned now about them knowing the processes than talking about prison. That's what happened in prison, or like all right, but. This is what happened when I went to this group over here, the self-help group. This is what I learned about lifestyle addiction. This is what I learned when I went to Porch. Like the processes of maturation is the stage that I want to start sharing, and that motivation, inspiration, and that faith that, hey, man, if you keep going, you can come out the other side with a brighter situation, but it's going to require some fortitude. You're going to have to keep going. Here's a process for that I utilized. Yours might be different, but take what you need from this story right here. So that's kind of where it's going for me. Inspire and motivate. Inspire and motivate.
Yes, sir. All day. You have such a motivational story, such an inspirational story, to share, that I know that your fans and then just other people who are going through what you have gone through will really be able to be inspired, by the story and take something with them.
Yeah, man. I really hope so. I feel like it doesn't make sense for the story to end any other way. And I want to line up with the right energy to where, because I feel like doing that has served me well in my life. I want to be in alignment with God or universe, exactly where I'm supposed to be, and ride that energy. Yeah. It's like sailing a boat, man, going against the waves. And sometimes it's necessary to ride in choppy waters, but man, if your boat is in the right direction and you moving the way you're supposed to move, now that wave is pushing you. Yes. It's not fighting you, it's pushing you. And I want to find the path of least resistance in my life. I've discovered that Usually that's where God is hanging out. The positive outcome is hanging out right there. So I'm hunting for that and creating it for myself and others for sure.
Word.
Yeah.
And if you could go back and send a message to your younger self, you know, like right before Psychoactive was released, what key lesson would you give a young rder?
Man, I would tell you, go home. Go home. Go home. Every chance you get, go home. Like reset, go home. And it's important to know where is home. You know what I mean? That matters too, because sometimes going home could be detrimental. But it's like the key to everything is to make sure that you got a place of peace. I would want myself to have known that you got some opportunities, but they're going to require you to sit down somewhere. Go sit down somewhere. Because the consequence of not sitting down somewhere is you're going to sit down somewhere. So sit your ass down somewhere, man, and finish what you're doing. That's what I would tell myself. Prioritize the work. The work is superior to the celebration, and you don't know it until you've celebrated. You know, I see people too happy they got to the Super Bowl, but like you were supposed to win. If you was focused on the work, you celebrated getting there.
Yeah.
Them people didn't celebrate at all, and you got scraped because you was happy to be here. So I feel like I'm appropriately happy to be wherever I'm at, but the work is more important to me than the champagne, for sure. I want to work, and if it ain't no work, I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
When the work is done, outro, I want to do the work, house, work to the house, work to the house, work to the house. That's it.
No, I can dig it.
Yeah.
What else you working on? What else you got coming up that you excited about, bro?
Hey, man, I just got a couple tracks in with 40. I got one going to Snoop. Shout out to Snoop Dogg. I need that. Bucket list for Face. Like, I'm already on this next album, you know what I mean? I've been moving. Tech and Trap. I told Tech, man, I'm ready to go. Like I said, and waited for 26 years.
Yeah.
I ain't with the one album a year. Like, I need to move, bro. I got songs.
Because I saw you dropped a couple of videos already, like the Soldier video with SIBO, and you done dropped a couple videos on the current project.
Yeah, man. I got one more I'm going to do for the current project, but, like, I'm already a stool, like, almost every winter, so I'm going to go in there with my boy Matt Phoenix. We going to cook up something new. We already started. I got the chart. I already got a couple features in, beats coming in. It's like the next album and then this book.
Yeah.
You know, this winter is the year. This is it. I got 2/3 of the book done.
Okay.
I want to wrap that book up. By the time the sun pop back out, I want a completed manuscript.
Yeah.
So I'm on that. So like of the album and the book simultaneously and create as much cohesion with them two projects as possible. Stand there as the soundtrack to that book. You know what I mean? The nigga, we made it part. Like this, you know what I mean? Yeah. Let's go. So I want this, do the book, put a bow on it, sit that on a coffee table, something mom to be proud of.
Yeah.
My family, my children, tell that story, and then move on to, you know, brighter stuff. You know what I mean? The documentary, I got that contract. Sitting there in the computer, I've been reading that, you know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting, the year 2026.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
That's what's up, man. And before we get out of here, I want to also ask you, what are some values that you are instilling in your children? Some things that you want them to value in life more than money?
I think what I'm teaching is the importance of family and having a familial consciousness where you are a part of a team. I want everybody to perceive themselves to be pieces of a whole, and what their required duty is to each other, but also to the whole. You know what I mean? And I wrote that in that song, Measure of Wealth, trying to teach that everybody's making a contribution to this family, and that's always what it's going to be. I think, you know, a lot of things that I've noticed with other people from other cultures and how they get their money and the methodologies that they use. They get a house, everybody camp out. Like you'll see a family with 5 people paying rent, $2,500. Got 5 people paying $2,500. You know what I mean? $10, $11, $12,500 that they giving to somebody else. And I'm like, what kind of house could y'all buy for that? And then just camped out together, been paying your mortgage, build the equity, and pop off another house, put somebody in a house.
Yeah.
Right? Now they out, bam, start from the eldest down. The eldest is, or start from the youngest down. So the eldest is still be in control of the machine. But pop it off, boom, and then boom, and then boom, and then boom. Preferably near each other, damn near creating a compound. Like that we could do them type of things if we work as a unit instead of viewing each other fragmented. We're not thinking about, living wills, family trusts, insurance policies, how to create generational wealth, create a family bank. Like I'm thinking like that, trying to communicate that to people like, yo, we got some opportunities. This stuff ain't really as hard. I've noticed that a lot of things that people should be doing aren't as difficult to do as they think it is, but it's been created, it's been communicated in a way that feels intimidating. So we just staying trapped in the trap.
Yeah.
And literally trapped in the trap. And I'm like, nah, we'll break the generational curses. Hey, break the generational curses. I'll make that shit on that song. Right. You know what I mean? We gotta break the generational curses. So that's what I'm on. I want my children to understand their role in that, and whoever could benefit from being aware of it too. Gang. There you go.
Word.
Man.
rder, you got any shout outs you want to give before we get out of here?
Say strange music in the building, man. That's it. Shout out to everybody that love me. I love you too. You rooting for me, I'm rooting for you too. That's really what I got right there. Like I was talking about.
rder, appreciate you pulling up, jumping off the porch with us, bro.
Yeah, man, I follow with y'all. Appreciate you, bastard.
Sir, much love, bro.
Big respect.
Yes, sir.
With the knowledge to explain the signs. Like in the 70s, we in jeopardy, but niggas are willing to bang with giants. Like David with slingshots and pebbles. Bring Glocks and rebels for Armageddon, twin and